Imagine this. It's dawn, and the air bites at your skin like 1,000 tiny needles. You're crouched low in a frost-covered valley, your breath clouding in front of you, your fingers numb around a spear you've only just learned to hold. The wind howls, carrying the distant bellow of a mammoth, and your stomach growls louder than the beast. You're not just cold, you're starving, exhausted, and the hunt hasn't even begun. This is no Hollywood caveman fantasy, no grunting, brute swinging a club. This is the Stone Age, the real Stone Age, and a winter hunt that could end your life before the sun climbs high. Could you survive an hour out here? Most of us wouldn't, but our ancestors did, not just surviving but thriving in ways that shatter every stereotype we've ever held about them. So, let's strip away the myths and step into their world, a world of ingenuity, resilience, and a sophistication we're only beginning to understand. We've all heard the stories, cavemen as dim-witted, fur-clad loners, dragging their knuckles through a savage, empty wilderness. It's an image born from 19th century imaginations, when early archaeologists found crude tools and scattered bones and assumed simplicity, but that picture is a lie, a distortion that robs our ancestors of their brilliance. The truth, these people were not primitive. They were masters of their environment, crafting lives of astonishing complexity in a world that offered no mercy. Archaeological evidence from sites like Dolní Vlastenice in the Czech Republic, dating back 26,000 years, reveals settlements with mammoth-bone structures, intricate tools, and even evidence of woven textiles. These weren't crude shelters, slapped together by chance. They were engineered homes, built to withstand winters that would freeze us solid. And the people who lived there, they weren't solitary brutes. They were communities bound by cooperation, strategy, and a deep understanding of the world around them. Let's start with the hunt itself, because nothing exposes the myth of the dumb caveman faster than understanding what it took to bring down a beast like a mammoth in the dead of winter. Picture a group of 15 hunters, men and women alike, moving as one across a snowy plain. They're not charging in blindly, every step is calculated. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Inuit or San, show us how such hunts likely worked. They required planning, communication, and an intimate knowledge of the animals. Our Stone Age ancestors didn't just stumble across a mammoth and hope for the best. They tracked herds for days, reading signs we'd miss: entirely trampled grass, dung patterns, the way a breeze carried a scent. At sites like Piedmont, also in the Czech Republic, archaeologists found mass kill sites where entire herds were driven into natural traps, like ravines, and dispatched with deadly precision. This wasn't luck. This was strategy, honed over generations. Now let's talk tools, because the idea of crude Stone Age technology is another myth we need to bury. The spears these hunters carried weren't just sharpened sticks. They were composite tools, often made of flint or bone points hafted to wooden shafts with sinew and resin. Excavations at sites like Siegeningen in Germany, dating back 300,000 years, uncovered wooden spears balanced for throwing, designed with the same principles of aerodynamics we use in modern javelins. These hunters weren't hurling rocks, they were wielding weapons as precise as anything we'd craft today. And they didn't stop at spears. They used atlatls, level-like devices that extended the arm's reach, launching darts with enough force to pierce thick hide. Crafting these tools took weeks, requiring not just skill but a deep understanding of materials, knowing which woods flexed without breaking, which stones flaked into razor-sharp edges. Every tool was a testament to their intelligence, passed down through teaching, not instinct. But the hunt was only half the story. Survival in a Stone Age winter demanded more than killing a mammoth. It required turning every part of that animal into something useful. Once the beast was down, the real work began. Bones were cracked for marrow, a calorie-dense lifeline when food was scarce. Hides were scraped and cured, transformed into clothing, shelters, or even boats. Sinew became thread for sewing, and tusks were carved into tools or ornaments. Nothing was wasted. At sites like Prehistoric in Ukraine, archaeologists found entire structures built from mammoth bones, some weighing tons, arranged with such precision they stood for decades. These weren't just shelters, they were homes, communal spaces where families gathered, told stories, and planned for the next hunt. And the clothing, far from the ragged furs of cartoon caveman, evidence from graves like Sungir in Russia shows garments adorned with thousands of ivory beads, each one hand-drilled and sewn with meticulous care. These were people who valued beauty, who expressed identity through their craft. What's striking is how these daily activities reveal a society far more complex than we've been taught. Hunting, crafting, building, these weren't just tasks for survival, they were social acts, binding people together. Anthropological studies suggest that Stone Age groups likely operated with a division of labor, not unlike modern teams. Some hunted, others processed hides, cared for children, or maintained fires. Everyone had a role, and trust was the glue that held it all together. Imagine the coordination it took to drive a herd into a trap, or the patience to teach a child how to knap flint. These were communities built on mutual reliance, where survival hinged on cooperation, not competition. And they didn't just survive, they flourished. Evidence from dental records and skeletal remains shows that many lived into their 40s and beyond, healthy enough to hunt, craft, and raise families in conditions we'd find unbearable. So why does this matter? Because seeing our ancestors as primitive blinds us to their wisdom. These were people who read the land like a book, who turned bones into homes and hides into art. They didn't just endure winter, they mastered it, creating technologies and strategies that let them thrive where we'd falter. Their lives were not a struggle against nature, but a partnership with it. They observed, adapted, and innovated, leaving behind a legacy of resilience we're still unraveling. Think about it. Every tool, every hunt, every bead sewn onto a tunic was a choice, a spark of creativity in a world that offered no second chances. That's not primitive. That's profound. As we stand in our heated homes, surrounded by gadgets, it's easy to feel superior, to think we've outgrown the Stone Age, but have we? Our ancestors faced the same fears we do: hunger, cold, the unknown, and met them with courage and ingenuity. They didn't need smartphones to navigate their world. They had knowledge, hard-won, and deeply felt. What would happen if we lost our conveniences? Could we track a herd through a blizzard, craft a spear from scratch, or build a home from bones? Their skills challenge us to rethink what progress means. Is it more technology, or is it the ability to live in harmony with the world, to find meaning in every act, no matter how small? Their ingenuity wasn't just in their tools or hunts, it was in how they wove meaning into every corner of their lives. Consider the art they left behind, etched into cave walls or carved into bone. At places like Lascaux in France, 17,000-year-old paintings of bison and horses leap across the rock, drawn with such precision they rival anything in a modern gallery. These weren't random scribbles, they were stories, maps of the world as they saw it, painted in flickering torchlight deep underground. Some archaeologists argue these caves were sacred spaces, where rituals unfolded to honor the animals they hunted or to call on forces beyond their control. Imagine the weight of that moment. A hunter paints smeared hands trembling, tracing the curve of a bull's horn, knowing their survival depended on the balance between taking life and giving thanks. This was no crude existence. This was a culture, rich with meaning, where every act, hunting, crafting, painting, carried a purpose that bound them to each other and the land. And let's not forget their knowledge of the natural world, a mastery we've all but lost. Stone Age people didn't just survive winter, they anticipated it. They knew which plants could heal, which berries were poison, and when Mike would bring herds back to their valleys at sites like Catalyuk in Turkey, dating back 9,000 years. Archaeologists found evidence of stored grains and dried meats, proof of planning months in advance. They weren't living they were strategists, reading the seasons like we read calendars. Ethnographic parallels with groups like the Hadza in Tanzania show us how hunter-gatherers memorized landscapes, passing down mental maps of water sources, migration routes, and safe havens. Every child learned these lessons, not through books, but through stories, songs, and the rhythm of daily life. Could we navigate a wilderness with such clarity? Or have we traded their wisdom for dependence on screens and signals? This brings us to a deeper truth. Their lives were not a battle against a hostile world, but a dance with it. They didn't see nature as something to conquer, but as a partner, a force to respect and understand. When they hunted, they didn't just kill, they honored the animal, using every part to ensure its death had purpose. When they built, they chose materials that worked with the land, not against it. Their homes at Scarabray in Scotland, built 5,000 years ago, were sunk into the earth, insulated by stone and turf, designed to cradle warmth against the howling North Sea winds. These were people who listened to the world, its seasons, its creatures, its limits, and shaped their lives to fit. Compare that to our own world, where we bulldoze forests and choke rivers for convenience. Who's the primitive one now? As we peel back these layers, a new picture emerges. Our ancestors weren't cavemen scraping by in a brutal world. They were architects of survival, artists of necessity, and keepers of knowledge that sustained them for millennia. Their societies, though small, were intricate webs of trust and skill, where every person's contribution mattered. A hunter's spear, a weaver's thread, a storyteller's voice, each was a thread in a tapestry that held them together. And their legacy. It's not just in the bones and tools we dig up. It's in us. The way we cooperate, create, and adapt carries echoes of their genius. Every time we solve a problem or share a story, we're channeling the same spark that lit their fires 26,000 years ago. So, what does this mean for us, standing in the glow of our modern world? It's a call to humility, to recognize that progress isn't a straight line from their savagery to our civilization. Their lives challenge us to question what we value. Is it the noise of endless consumption, or the quiet strength of living with purpose? They didn't have our machines, but they had something we're losing, a connection to the earth, to each other, to the weight of every choice. We marvel at their tools, but can we match their resilience? We study their art, but do we feel the same awe for the world around us? Their winter hunts weren't just about survival, they were about understanding limits, about knowing when to take and when to give back. That's a lesson we need now more than ever, as we face a planet stretched thin by our demands. Let's take a moment to stand in their shoes, to feel the frost on our faces and the weight of a spear in our hands. Imagine the trust in your companions, the rhythm of your breath as you move together, the pulse of a world alive around you. You're not just hunting, you're part of something bigger, a chain of lives stretching back and forward through time. Our ancestors didn't just survive that winter hunt, they turned it into a triumph of human spirit. They built a world that carried us here, to this moment, where we can look back and marvel at their wisdom. So, the next time you hear someone call them primitive, challenge it. Tell them about the mammoth-bone homes, the spears crafted with physicists' precision, the caves painted with stories that still speak. Tell them about a people who didn't just endure but thrived, who faced a world of ice and hunger and answered with fire and ingenuity. And then ask yourself, what can we learn from them? How can their resilience shape our choices today? Maybe it's time to rethink our own hunt, not for mammoths, but for balance, for meaning, for a way to live that honors the world as they did. Their legacy isn't just in the past. It's a call to action, a reminder that we, too, can choose to adapt, to create, to endure. Let's not just survive our challenges. Let's meet them with the same courage, the same wisdom, the same unbreakable spirit that carried our ancestors through the winter's cold.